I know I'm a tad late here, but let's go through the 36 books I plan to read in January. Organized by genre, so starting with fantasy, we have Sunrise on the Reaping, the newest book in the Hunger Games series. I'm so excited for this. I will do a reading vlog. I hear it's devastating. This is a reread, but I plan to read The Will of Ascension, which is book 2 in the Mistborn series. I read book 1 last month and just loved my reread of it, so I plan to do 1 book per month in 2026. I'm planning to read this collection of sci-fi fantasy short stories. It's called The Catalog for the End of Humanity. I'm really excited for it, and it's been on my TBR for too long. For romantasy, I plan to read We Who Will Die by Stasia Stark. I've heard great things about this one, so my expectations are very high. I also plan to read Death Between the Stars, which is a sci-fi romance book. This author's previous release was on my top 10 books of 2025 list, so I have incredibly high expectations for this one. At the point of recording this, I've actually already read these 3 books, but I have a mission in 2026 to read through a lot of the series that I'm in the middle of, so that's where these come in. These are the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th book in the This Woven Kingdom series. Book 5 is not out yet, but when it comes out, I'll read it and check the whole series off. Lastly, for fantasy, the first book that I read of the year was Tailored Realities by Brandon Sanderson. This is a collection of sci-fi fantasy short stories, and I love this book. I have 1 book of poetry on my TBR this month. It is Things We Never Got to Share. It's book 3 in a poetry trilogy, and I loved the first 2 books. For contemporary fiction, I have 2 on my list. We have Is This a Cry for Help by Emily Austen. It comes out on the 13th of January. And then I want to read through all of Frederick Bachman's backlist because he's one of my favorite authors, so what I'm starting with is Britt Marie Was Here. Moving on to thrillers, we have You. I loved this show, and I've been meaning to read this series for forever, so I'm going to start it this month. I also plan to read I Found You by Lisa Jewell. It was one of my Discord's book club picks a couple months ago, and I just haven't gotten to it yet. I'm also planning to read The Caretaker. This is the same author as We Used to Live Here. It comes out in April, and I will do a reading vlog. I've heard from earlier reviews that this book is crazy. I'm also planning to do a reading vlog for Dear Debbie by Frida McFadden. This is her new thriller that comes out in the end of January. This book I've heard very mixed things about, but I'm gonna give it a try. It's Shaw Connolly Lives to Tell. I was drawn into the wintry cover for January. This book already came out last June, so I've been meaning to read it for too long. Also, wintry vibes is A Killing Cold by Kate Alice Marshall, one of my favorite thriller authors. I just haven't gotten to her new book yet. I plan to read The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. And then moving on to romance, I ended up picking way too many this month, but I've already read Burning Daylight by Emily McIntyre. I listened on audio and really enjoyed it. I plan to read The M Effect, which is a hockey STEM romance. Red Card, which is a rugby romance. With Stars in Her Eyes, which is a queer bookshop romance. Catch Her If You Can, of course, Tessa Bailey, classic sports romance. I'm trying to read all of the Taylor Jenkins Reid books I haven't read so far, so we have After I Do, Forever Interrupted, Maybe in Another Life, and One True Loves. Continuing with my trying to complete series, I've already started. I read book 1 in the Chestnut Spring series, and so I want to read the rest of the series. So that is Heartless, Powerless, Reckless, and Hopeless. Next is Anne of Avenue A. It looks like a fun little wintry romance. The California Dreamers, because this one looks like summertime, and I always need a break at some point from the snow, so I will find that break in this book. And last but not least, I need to read The Au Pair Affair. I read book 1 and I think 3 or 4 in this series, so I need to go back and read 2. They're interconnected standalones, so you don't have to read them in order, but I've heard this one's really cute. And there we have it, the 36 books I plan to read this month. I think I also have